So we'll start off by talking about brushes. Okay, so I think I'm not actually sure whether Illustrator has brushes or not, but Photoshop, because Photoshop is a photo editing program or a pixel bitmap editing program, that's generally where you would use brushes because it's your painting sort of stuff. Let's start a new document and we'll just experiment with some of the brushes. So you can do File New or Control N. And for the size, we'll just choose one of the web presets. And say just 1024 by 768, that'll be fine. This is just for experimenting, so just make sure it's got a white background there. Yep, it'll be on the list, so on the size list, if you just pick one of those. The size doesn't really matter, okay, it's just so you've got something. What's that? So yeah, choose one of the web preset. Yeah, and just change the size so it's a little bit bigger. In fact, you could even go one bigger. Your monitors are bigger than my monitor, so yep, 1024 by 768 is fine. Yeah. So you can say OK once you've done that. We just want a blank document. Okay, just something like that. You could increase it to 100% as well, like it'd probably come up as, if you notice in the top left-hand corner of the document, it'll have a percentage. Okay, I usually put it on 100% just so that I can see things at the right size. So you can do Control Plus and it'll zoom up one. Also at the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see a percent. That's where you can actually type in a value in there if you wanted to. Yeah, just make it 100%. Sometimes that's better, especially if you're working on something, I don't know, like for a website or something, you really want to see it at its actual size. It's usually the best thing to do. Okay, so brushes. Now we've briefly used brushes, but only in the context of using the healing brush and some other tools here that use a brush in those tools. We haven't used the brush just by itself, I don't think. Okay, so if you have a look on your toolbox, so I think we used it in the layer mask, but just a basic brush. So there's a brush there. It looks like a paintbrush, and don't get it confused with. There's one just a bit below that with an arrow that goes back. That's the history brush. That's something else. Okay, and I think there's another brush somewhere that looks like something else as well, but it's got no extra arrows or whatever on it. Okay, and you've probably got a really big cursor because we used that the other day when we did the layer mask tutorial. Alright, so with brushes, you've got, along the top here, you've got some things, opacity and flow. Okay, so that shows when you start painting with a brush, if they're not 100%, you'll have a bit of transparency in your brush. Okay, and then also the mode is the blending mode. Okay, so whether it'll blend with things below it. Now, I tend to have these things on normal and 100%, just because you can also change those things in the layers panel. Okay, so if I'm going to start painting with something and I want it a bit transparent, or I want a different mode or something, if I change it here, so if I do something here, multiply and change the opacity or whatever, and I start brushing, then it's always going to be, I'll never be able to get it to 100% because I've done the brush at, in this case 34%. But if I change that, so I'm just going to make a new layer there, if I keep that on 100% and keep it on normal, and then brush, I can still change those settings in the layers panel. Okay, and I can change them back and forth. So I can change the opacity here, and I can change, the mode. Okay, and so I can change it to different things. Does that make sense? So if you change the settings when you use the brush tool, then it's always going to be set at that setting. Okay, if you change it on the layers panel, then you can change it to different settings later on. All right, just something to be aware of. Now, with the paintbrush, and same with any of the paint tools, actually, the paint bucket, the gradient, and the paintbrush, they will paint on whatever layer you're on. They don't automatically create a new layer. Okay, so you've got to be careful if you're maybe you've got a photo, maybe you've decided to colorize a black and white photo, and you've got a black and white photo and you're going to paint, you know how they used to paint black and white photos. Maybe no one knows that, but people actually used to paint them. Okay, you could do that, but what you would do instead of painting directly on the photo, I would add a new layer on top of it so that you're not ruining your original photo. Okay, it's always remember that you can do new layers to put things onto. Okay, so with that one, I just painted that directly on my background layer, and I can see the little thumbnail here. It's got the paint, that little swatches on it. Okay, but if I wanted to do something else, I could make a new layer and paint on the new layer, and I could have several layers. If you decided to do a painting in Photoshop, which you can, I'd build it up over several layers rather than having it all on one layer, because it's just easier to fix mistakes and things. Does anyone want a graphics tablet, by the way? The cupboard's open, so if you want one, you can go and grab one. Okay, so so it's just a matter of remembering to create a new layer, okay, if you're doing something specific, like if you don't want to paint on top of your photo or something. Alright, I'm just going to do a new layer there and hide those ones just so I've got a blank layer there. Now, because I've made a new layer and I've hidden my background layer, it actually looks transparent, but I'm going to, because I painted on my background layer. So if you did the same as me, I just want to fill that background with white just so I can see my brushes a bit better. So I'm just switching my colours around, so I've got white on top. And you can just go to your paint bucket and you just click in your new layer and it'll just fill it with white. Okay, alright, let's go back to our brushes. So we've got our blending modes, opacity and flow. The ones almost on the left hand side where it's got a number and a shape, okay, if you click on that, we have looked briefly at this. You've got the size of your brush. Okay, keyboard shortcut is the square brackets, left and right square brackets to make it smaller or bigger. And the hardness will make it soft or a hard brush. Okay, and then you've got a whole bunch of brushes there. Okay, if you scroll down, you've just got your average round ones, and then you've got some different ones that are supposed to look like actual art brushes. Okay, you've got some that are shapes, like there's leaves, which are quite nice. We'll have a look at those in a second, and some other ones there as well. And you can also get more brushes from the menu here. So in the top right-hand corner, there's a little, looks like a little cogwheel kind of thing. If you click on that, and there's a whole heap of brushes here. So wet media brushes, natural brushes, drop shadow brushes, calligraphic brushes, all sorts of things. Okay, so if I chose calligraphic brushes, now if you click on one of those ones on the list, it was on this menu here, it'll ask you, do you want to replace the current brushes or do you want to append them? I usually append them so that I've got more. I don't necessarily replace them. Okay, so I could say append and it'll add some more brushes to the end of my list there. Okay, and there is also a brushes panel, okay, which it might show up here depending on what things you've got selected. If you can't see the brushes panel here, it'll be in your window menu, and there's brush and there's brush presets, and they're grouped together anyway. Okay, and it's just got a few more settings here. Alright, so brush and brush presets. These ones, I'm actually going to reduce the size of that, it annoys me when it comes up. Okay, so your brush presets are the same ones that were in the list. Okay, over there. It's just got a longer sample, I guess. And then the brush is where we can change particular settings. Okay, so before we get into that, let's just try some of these brushes. So just choose a colour, any colour, doesn't matter. I've just switched my foreground and background. I had a nice purple colour there. Okay, and I mean, to start with, obviously, it usually comes up just with a round brush, which we've already looked at anyway. So that's just a round, soft brush, and you can just brush a stroke there. If you scroll down a bit and have a look at some of the other brushes, you'll see like some of the shaped brushes. Okay, that one looks like an actual brush, like a kind of a hard brush dipped in paint. They've got different shapes to them. If you just do one click, you know, you'll see it sort of gives a certain shape. But with brushes, usually the idea is to click and drag, so you're painting, okay, the shape there. I just realised what I should do, what I'm going to do is actually make a new blank layer, which I'll put at the bottom and just fill that with white. So every time I paint, what do you mean you can't go to it? If you click on the layer on the layers panel, you can click on it there. But why can't you go? What's it doing? But so the other layer might still be showing. Yeah, so you can hide it. So remember on the layers panel you've got that eye there? So if you turn the eye off, that'll hide a layer. Hang on. Okay, so what I suggest is if you make a new white layer and leave that one and then make new layers on top of that, which I made the mistake of painting on my white layer. But anyway, okay, and so then every time you make a new layer, the new layer will be transparent, but it'll still look white because you've got the white layer in the background. Okay, back to the brush. So you've got some interesting ones like that. The ones I really like are these leaf ones. There's like a grass and a leaf one. Oops, hang on, I need a colour for that. Okay, like this leaf. Yeah, I know, it's really nice, isn't it? And if you have a look, so it does colours and it does scattering. If you have a look on that brush's panel, you'll see some different options there. Okay, it's got scattering, it's got colour dynamics, transfer, smoothing, shape dynamics. Okay, and that's what causes those nice effects of the, you know, the leaves spreading around. Okay, so they're actually quite nice. There's another leaf there which does a similar sort of one. They're really pretty. Okay, that one, the leaves are already semi-transparent. So when someone made the brush, okay, they made it a bit transparent. So, you know, you can see what it looks like without, you know, some of the settings, like if you turned off scattering, for instance. And it gives you a little preview as well down the bottom. So with scattering on, it goes all over the place. With scattering turned off, it's still a little bit, it has varying sizes, which is the shape dynamics one. Okay, and if you turn off shape dynamics, you can see the leaves are all the same. You know, so different ones. So that sort of shows you what those effects do, which are really, you know, you can get some really cool effects using those things. So the brush tool itself is really quite simple to use. Okay, it's just a matter of playing with those different settings. And we can make our own brushes as well and save it as a brush preset so you can use it in the future. So that's what we'll do now. We'll create a brush that you can save. All right, let's just do a new layer. Hide what you've done there and just do a new layer. Now, I probably should have looked at shapes first, but that's all right. We'll look at shapes now and then, because we're going to use a shape to create a brush. Okay, on the toolbox, about, I don't know, that far down, almost to the end, you'll see a shape, probably a rectangle shape, but you might have an ellipse there or some other shape. Okay, these are the different shapes you can use. It's similar to the shape tool in Illustrator. Okay, I think there's just different, slightly different shapes. Okay, so obviously rectangle. Sorry, I'm just going to. All right, so let's have a look at the shapes. So, you've got your basic ones, rectangle, ellipse, polygon, okay, and it's just a matter of clicking and dragging, and you get a shape. All right, Photoshop now has a fill and a stroke. It only ever used to have a fill, but they've made it similar to Illustrator, where you can have a stroke as well. So the stroke is like a border, okay? And you can see at the top here, you've got the options for fill and for stroke. Okay, and then the size of it. If you want to make a perfect square or a perfect circle, you hold the Shift key as you're dragging. Okay, so if you hold the Shift key, it'll make a perfect square. Now, I've been having trouble, and I don't know if it's this version of Photoshop, because it used to be that every time it's got a new layer here, which I don't understand. I think there must be a bug in this version of Photoshop, because what it's doing is when you draw a new shape, it's set up here to do new layer. So every time you draw a shape, it should put it on a new layer, but it's actually putting it on the same layer. Can you see here? It's only doing one layer. And so I don't know what the problem is there, because it's actually selected to do new layer. So I don't really know what the issue is. And if I do a new one there, you can get it on a new layer if you click on another tool and then like deselect it kind of, and then click back on the rectangle tool. At that point, it will do it on a new layer. Okay, but really, because that's set to new layer, it should actually be setting it on a new layer. So I don't know what the issue is there, but anyway. Okay, but that's the difference with shapes and with painting. Painting, you just paint on whatever layer you're on. It doesn't make a new layer. Shapes create a new layer. Okay, because it creates a shape. All right, so you've got those ones. You've got an ellipse, okay, which is an oval or a circle, rounded, rectangle, polygon, etc. Okay, let's have a look at the custom shape tool, which is underneath there. Okay, if you've drawn a few, just hide all those ones, just so we've got a blank screen again. Hang on. Okay, so yes, I've just hidden all those shapes just so we've got a blank screen. So the custom shape tool, if you go to the custom shape tool, and then if you have a look along the top, okay, you'll see one that says shape, like right along the right side up here along the options bar. And I'm seeing an arrow with a menu and menu arrow next to it. If you click on that, and you'll see there are all these different shapes. Thanks. Okay, these are just the default ones that are in Photoshop. Okay, so you've got a couple of arrows, there's a light bulb, heart, a tick, just some different things there. And we can also make our own shapes and save shapes as well. Okay. So to start with, let's just choose one of these shapes. I'm going to choose the heart. Okay. Now, again, you can click and drag, or if you hold Shift, you can keep it in proportion. Okay, so if I click and drag a heart, I can stretch it and do whatever. If I want a really fat one or if I want a really skinny one, sort of thing, I can do that. If I hold Shift when I'm doing it, okay, it'll actually keep it in proportion. Now, all right, now what I want, I'm going to have to go select on something else, click on something else, and then go back here, because I want just one heart on a layer by itself. So, now what are we doing? Oh, we're saving a brush, that's right. With brushes, when you make your own brushes, you actually need to save an image as black or shades of grey. The reason being, you don't save a coloured brush because when you're using a brush, you choose the colour at that point. Okay, when you're brushing something, you choose the colour that you want to paint in something. So when you save a brush, it actually saves it as a black image or a grey image. If it's grey, it'll become slightly transparent. Okay, so let's change our colours to black. So if you press the D key for default, that'll get your black and white, which are the default colours. Okay, so we want black on top. And we want to just draw. Now you don't have to use the heart. I'm using the heart. You can choose one of the other shapes if you want. Okay, and just draw, just make a little shape of whichever one you've chosen. It's on the list. Can you find the list of the shapes up the top, Erica? The heart is there. Here, look at my screen. Here, this list here. It is there. It must be there. Okay, are you on custom shape? Have you chosen the custom shape tool? Yeah, okay. All right, so the custom shape tool. Yeah? Okay. All right, now I just need to check something. Oh, that's right. They seem to change this with each version of Photoshop, how you save a brush. Anyway, so we've got, so just as a simple brush, okay, we can actually change that shape into a brush. The way we do it is on the Edit menu and Define Brush Preset. Now, it'll give you a little thumbnail of it. Okay, so it'll show you the heart, whatever's on, showing at the moment. All right, let's give it a name, heart, or if you've chosen something else, call it something else. And we'll say okay. So now, if we go back to the brush tool, that brush will be right at the bottom of our brushes, our brush presets. Okay, so have a look, see if you can find it there. So select the brush tool. Okay, you can also go to the brush panel. Okay, the brush preset panel, it'll be on there. So the brush tool, remember where the brush tool is? It's underneath the Band-Aid. Can you see the Band-Aid? Yep. So the brush tool, click on the brush tool. And then the list of brushes that was up the top, the shapes, the brush shapes. Can you find it? At the top, like right underneath the Edit menu. See where it says Edit? Right underneath there? Yes, okay. So if you scroll right down to the bottom, your heart, it should be showing your heart brush there. So let's just try it out. Let's choose a colour. Okay, any colour. And we need a new layer though. Remember, the brush will go on has to go on a layer by itself. So just make a new layer. Okay, oops, I'm on the wrong. Okay, actually click on the brush tool, the heart brush. And see, that's the shape of the cursor. If you just stamp it, if you just click once, that's your brush. Or you can click and hold, and obviously it's going to do a whole string of brush hearts. Okay, we can also change something. Let's do another new blank layer and hide that one. You can hide your shape as well. Now this time, let's go into the brush panel. So remember the brush panel is on the right hand side here. Yep. If you haven't got it, go to the window menu and click on brush. Yep. And let's just change a few of these options. Remember how the leaf did different things? So if you had like scattering turned on, for instance, at my preview, it's filled it pretty much all up with black, but let's see. If I click once, oh, it's really spread out. Yeah, that's what scattering does. Okay, shape dynamics will turn it around and resize it and do different things with the shape. What else? Color dynamics. I can't remember what color dynamics. Oh, that changes the shade of the color. So I'm painting in red at the moment, but it's giving me also pink and orange. Yep. So you got some really nice things there. I don't know, wet edges. That's sort of a little bit transparent and, you know, does some different things. Yep, the different colours is the colour dynamics. So if you've got colour dynamics ticked, that'll give you the different colour shades. Okay, so yeah, really nice things. And then you can, now I think that should, yes, if we save that as a new brush preset, I think it should save all those things. So if you go to the top right menu in the panel, it's got new brush preset. It looks the same, but I'm hoping that it will still do the same thing. And I'll just leave it as Heart 1. Let's see. Yes, it has. Okay, so it's now kept all of those settings, okay, in Heart 1. So Heart was just the heart by itself. Heart 1 saved whatever thing boxes you'd ticked, you know, the dynamics and the scattering and it, etc. Or whatever you called it. So I'm just going to, oh, that's so nice. Isn't that pretty? You can't get it? Yeah. Well, have you got the brush panel? Yeah. This one? I just ticked some of these boxes. Yeah, well, then you should have it. So I've got shape dynamics, scattering, color dynamics, wet edges, all of those. You know, you're just trying different ones out. Okay. What do you mean, one by one? Well, it depends what you've ticked. Well, then I don't know. If you tick the same things as me, you'll get the same result as me. If you've ticked different things, you'll have a different result. Okay, I've got shape dynamics, scattering, color dynamics, wet edges, and smoothing. Okay. All right. Anyway, so that's one way of creating a brush. Okay, just using a simple shape. All right. Hide that one. Now, you can also draw your own shape. Now, remember we used the pen tool in Illustrator. Photoshop also has a pen tool. Works exactly the same way. All right, so here's the pen tool here. Okay, so if you want to draw a shape, you just click and drag. I'm just going to draw a blobby sort of shape. Okay, click and drag, and you're just joining up. Oh, now, sorry, I should mention one thing. I did forget to say something here. Hang on, I'm going to get rid of that thing. Okay, when you choose the pen tool, at the top here, on the options bar here, you've got some things here. It'll say shape or path. Actually, the same thing with the shape tool. Okay, and the shape tool has an extra one. I did forget to mention this. I'm going to go back to the shape tool. So with the shape tool, you've got 3 options. It says shape, path, or pixels. Okay, usually you want the shape one on. What that means is it'll draw the outline of the shape and it will fill it, or, you know, fill and stroke, whatever you decide, with a colour. If you choose path, it's just doing the outline, and it's more like a temporary thing. So sometimes you would choose that, like if you want to do type on a path. Remember in Illustrator you could do type on a path. You can do the same thing in Photoshop. So if you want to do some curved text, but you don't want to see the curved line, okay, you could draw a path just with the pen and then put the text on it. Okay, so in those instances you would use path rather than shape. Okay, shape, generally it has to be joined back to the beginning, okay, to fill a shape. You know, it has to be like an enclosed thing. Pixels, now this is only in the shape tool. Pixels, what pixels means is that it's not creating a vector shape. So in these instances, these shapes here, and you'll see it's got a little the little icon there that's got, you know, lines and squares. That means that's a vector shape. So remember with Illustrator we did a vector and you can move the points, okay? You can do the same thing with shapes. If you chose pixels, then it's essentially like painting a shape, and you can't edit the vectors, okay? So again, I can't think of many instances where I would choose pixels. There might be some cases, but you know, it's there, but just be aware that when you're choosing it, that the correct setting is up here. Okay, so that's with the shape. When you go to the pen tool, you've actually only got the shape and the path option. You haven't got the pixels option with the pen tool. Okay, but let's just make sure that's on shape. I actually had it on path. Maybe the default might be path, actually, I'm not sure. Choose shape, and that way we can fill it with colour or we can outline it or something. Okay, so shape, so it works the same way as in Illustrator. To get a curved shape, you click and drag, or to get a straight shape, you just click the points. And then you can just join them up. Okay, just draw some sort of a blobby shape or whatever you like. And to join it back to the beginning, put your mouse over the shape, the handle right at the beginning, and it joins it up. And then we've just drawn a little blob thing. Now, that's a technical term. Now, if we wanted to adjust that, we would need the direct selection tool, which is the white arrow. There is one here, it's just in a different place to Illustrator. If you just go a couple of tools down from the pen tool, you'll probably see a black arrow there. If you click and hold on that, you've got two, a path selection tool and a direct selection tool. The difference is the path selection tool, so if I use that and I just click on the outside, it selects the whole path, okay? But it doesn't really do much. I can move it or whatever, but I can't adjust them. To adjust them individually, I need to go to the direct selection tool. Okay, so the white one, and that way I can click on one of the anchor points and see I'll get the handles. Remember the handles for the curves? I can change the curve. I can move the anchor point. Whoops. Now, is it going to do this? Sometimes it does weird things with that. Okay, so I can move the anchor point, or I can adjust the curves themselves. So you could draw your own shape, and then you could make that into a brush if you wanted to as well. Okay. Now, we can also save that as a shape preset. Okay, so if you've drawn, now I have done this where I've made a logo. Okay, so for something I was doing stuff all the time, I had in fact, I think what they had was they only had like a scanned image of the logo. So I scanned it, converted it into a vector, and then I made the logo into a shape preset. So anytime I wanted to use the logo in Photoshop, I just, used it as a shape, and which was really good because it makes it uses it as a vector image, so I can make it as big or as small as I want. Okay, so that's something you can do. So the way to make a shape into a shape that you've drawn, to save that as a shape preset, okay, it's the similar thing. Now I think it might be slightly different. Let me just, okay, that's good. They've actually, they used to do some things so they were slightly differently, but I think they've changed them now in Photoshop so they do it the same way, which is good. So if you've got your shape, you go to the same thing, edit, and then define custom shape. Okay, it'll give you a preview there of your blob or whatever your shape is. You can give it a name. I'm going to call mine blob. And you say OK. So now that shape will be listed in that custom shapes list. Okay, so if we go back to the shape tool and have a look at your custom shapes, scroll down the bottom, there's my nice blob. Okay, so I can just draw that, just click and drag. Now remember, if you want to keep it in proportion, you hold the Shift key, and it saves that. Did you see where to save that, Joe? Did you save your shape? Did you? Yep, fine. So if you go back to the custom shape tool, it'll be on the bottom of the list. There you go. Yeah. Now with the shapes, oh no, hang on, do the shape save it as a colour? No, they save it as black as well, black or white. Now if that was grey, if you, in fact your one, actually did it save it with the colour? Yeah, no, it does save it with the colour, that's right. It's the brushes that only save in black, but the shapes you can save with colour. Okay, so, but obviously you can change it, you know, when you're doing stuff too. Okay. So that's really easy. So I won't go through the whole pen thing because we already know how to use the pen tool, okay, from Illustrator. It works the same way. And it's got the similar things, add anchor point, delete anchor point, etc. on those things there. What, adding new layers, are you saying? Well, see, that's what it's supposed to do. And mine isn't, and I don't know why. It's really weird. Yeah, yours is working how it's supposed to work, but mine seems to not want to do that, even though I've got it set on new layer. So anyway, but that's good that yours does that. So, all right. What's another thing? Okay, another type of brush we can create is you can use. Now remember I said those ones. Let me just open. Did I still got those open? Okay, these brushes that you can download. Okay, if you wanted something like this tree brush, for instance, you can make a brush from a photo. Okay, so if I had a photo of a tree, I don't have a photo of a tree, but you know, a photo of anything, so long as you can make it into black and white. Okay, so let's have a look at doing a kind of a textured brush. Okay, let me just hide those ones. And we can make a textured brush by, let's open one of these photos. We're going to use this baby 3 old photo. Remember the one we used to fix it up? Okay, so let's just open this photo. The reason I'm using this photo is because it's got little creases and things. It's one called Baby 3 Old in the source photos folder. Yep. Because it's got like little bits of nice texture on it already. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to just use a little bit of this photo. So I could either copy and paste a bit to another document, or I could just crop this document and do some things with it. You know, it really depends. I'm just going to crop this document and just use a section of it. So let's go to the crop tool. Now if you have a look on your toolbar, it's up near the selection tools. Okay, it's got like 2 corners overlapping. The 5th tool down. Has everyone found that? Once you select the crop tool, you'll see, have a look at around the edge of your photo, you've got like a dashed line and corners and edges. Okay, so what we can do is just grab those corners and edges and just select a little area. And what I'm going to do, I want to select this sort of top left-hand section of the photo where there's like tears and those pink dots and things. And I want to crop it to that part. So I just move the edges up, so I've just got that part. So once I'm happy with that section, I can just press the Enter key and that will crop it to that amount. Are you on the crop tool, Erica? Yeah. And yeah, press enter, that's right. Yep. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a textured thing here. So first of all, we know we need to make it into black and white to make it into a brush. Okay, if you don't make something into black and white first, it'll just save it as is, but it'll make it like a shade of grey, like however it's made the colour into grey. But all right, so let's go up to our image menu and adjustments and the black and white option there. So image adjustments, black and white. Now that's fine. You could say auto. If you wanted to fiddle around with those things, you could. I'm not going to bother doing that. All right, but I'm just making it black and white. And notice it's not totally black as well. So it's a dark grey, which means there will be a little bit of transparency in it, which is fine. Okay, so you can just say okay there. And then I also want to adjust the contrast a bit, so make it really contrasty. So again, we'll go up to the image menu, adjustments, and brightness and contrast. Okay, now we can turn the contrast up a bit. You could do it all the way, or I'm just going to do it about maybe around 70-ish, 70 to 80, something like that. And then the next thing I want to do, so I'm happy with that, so I've just turned the contrast up a little bit. The next thing I want, so it's already got some little gaps in there from the tears and the spots, but let's add in a few more. So what we can do is we can erase some sections using a textured brush. Okay, the eraser tool, we haven't actually used the eraser tool yet. Have a look, it's just above the paint bucket tool. Okay, or the letter E, if you can't find it, is the keyboard shortcut. The eraser tool also uses, or can use, a brush. Okay, actually where it says mode, you'll see brush, pencil or block. You've got 3 options for the eraser tool. But if we go onto the brush, and we can use one of these brushes that are already textured, we want to chop some little bits out of our thing here. So we're going to make another textured brush, if that makes sense. So let's have a look. I'm going to use, I don't know, just one of these. Let me see. I might have to make it a bit bigger. Yeah, I'm going to use something like that. Just something that's got sort of some little odd shape or whatever. The one I actually used was, I don't know, this one. If you can really see that. But just one of those ones that kind of are spattery. Okay. You can make it a little bit bigger if you want. And also, I'm just going to click once. Oops, hang on, sorry. Oh, it's probably erasing it because we didn't put this on a new thing. Okay, you know what we need? Maybe we should just paint it in white. You know, I'm trying to think how I did this before. Yeah, I did use the eraser. Oh, it's because it's on a background layer. I just realised. Okay, we need to put this on a separate layer. So, okay, so we just double click this. Okay, and just so it's a separate layer by itself. And now if I do that, the it'll be like transparent underneath. Okay. Actually, I don't like that brush. It's a bit, I don't know, it's all right. But what I've done there, I'm just going to undo that because I don't really like that one too much. But we just want to erase some of these little bits. Now, if I've got it on 100% flow and opacity, it'll just make it like totally see-through. But if I just want to make it a little bit grey in that area, so it's a little bit transparent, okay, I can change the opacity. And I don't know, I'm just going to try. Let's see what 20% does. Okay, I've just turned it down to 20%. So it's a little bit see-through. Does that make sense? I'll change the value again. So I'm just chopping some holes in the thing. I'm just sort of doing a bit of a free-form thing, okay? You can also change brushes. Try one of the other ones. Yep, that one's not bad. Actually, I like this spattery sort of one better than that other one I had. Oops, too much. Okay, so you can just, do whatever you like there. You might want to just I'm just going to go over the edges so I haven't got these hard edges on the brush. So I'm just kind of brushing away the edge of it. Just using one of these spatter brushes. Okay, you can vary your opacity, the size of it, don't forget, you can vary, so you can do a few different things there. All right, I don't know that I'm totally happy with that, but it looks all right for the moment. So once you've got something there, but even if you can do the same thing with like photos of, for example, the trees, if you want to make these tree brushes, take photos of trees, get rid of the background, so you've basically just got the silhouette of the tree. Okay, that's what you'd end up with. All right, so that, we can just save that. Now that's a fairly large brush. We could save it as is, which is fine because when you've got a brush you can resize it anyway. So let's save that as a brush preset. So edit and define brush preset. I don't know what we're going to call this. I'm going to call it grunge. It's a grunge brush. And now that will be at the bottom of our list of brushes. So I'm going to try that now, see what it looks like. It might not look, it's not too bad actually. It's that if you stamp it, it kind of gives you this kind of textured, effect. And again, you can, don't forget the other options in the brush settings. Okay, scattering and dynamics and all that sort of stuff. Okay, so that's an interesting thing to do. No, don't save the changes to that one because if you've saved the preset, save the brush preset, yeah. And in fact, if you were doing that to a photo, you always make sure you're working on a copy of your photo. Like don't save over your photo accidentally where you've cropped it and done weird things to it. Okay, so that's brushes. We've looked at shapes, and then there are also patterns. Okay, so we can also fill things with patterns or make our own patterns. So again, let's just make a new layer here. Just hide your other layers. Now patterns are generally used with the paint bucket tool. What else? Oh, you can do a pattern overlay on something as well. Okay, so let's go to the paint bucket tool. And have a look at the top. By default, the fill for the paint bucket is the foreground colour. So see where it says foreground? If you click on that, the other option is pattern. So you can fill something with a pattern. Alright, so let's choose pattern. And then right next to that, you'll get a bunch of patterns. So there's some default patterns there. There's only a few there, but on the menu, you can load more patterns. So it's got these, I don't know, bubbles or something. There's, I don't know what that is, some sort of textures. Okay, and then there's a little menu there. If you click on the menu, you can get a bunch of other patterns as well. So we've got rock patterns, nature patterns, colour paper, I don't know, different things. I'm going to have a look at rock patterns. Now when you add another list from the menu, it's like with the brushes. Usually you want to append it to the ones that are there. I mean, you could replace it, but I don't know, I just like to append it just because I can see more. So I've chosen the rock patterns, and you can see there are a bunch of rock patterns. So let's just try some of these and see what they look like. Okay, and all you have to do, because we're using the paint bucket, you just click and it fills it with that. Yeah, it's a bit overpowering, isn't it? Now, remember when we did the repeating background the other day? Okay, they've obviously done the same thing here. I don't think they've done that particularly well because that's rock there is really noticeable. Okay, you can see how it's repeating, that kind of paler coloured rock. All right, so I would have actually gotten rid of that rock and had it more generic, and then it would be less noticeable. So that's something you just got to be aware of when you are doing repeating patterns, and why you have to test them as well. You don't want them to be noticeable. Okay. Now, if we want to try some of the other ones, you would either have to make a new layer or just undo that one, because if we went to another pattern, so I go to that red rocks pattern, and I clicked here, it's actually just going to click, because I don't have just a one white background anymore, it's trying to fill it in just one little section. So I'm just going to undo, and then I've got my white background again. I mean, that one, it's still the same though. I can still see like there's a hole there. I can notice where that's repeating. But anyway, so you've got patterns. So we already know how to make a repeating tile from a photo. Remember how we used the offset filter, and then we use the healing brush or the clone stamp tool. Okay, you can then save that as a pattern. So actually, I'm just wondering where I saved my tile. Okay, all right. So I saved mine on the P drive. If you want to use this one, you can. Actually, I can't remember. Did I? I think I did the repeat on this. Yeah, I think I did. Okay, if you want to open that leaves tile one, that's in the, well, actually, was it in the source? No, it's just above. So go up from the source photos folder. It's in the digital images folder. There's also that rust tile one, although I don't think that was as successful as the other one. So if you open that one, leaves tile, yeah, it's a JPEG, the JPEG one. We can save that as a pattern preset. Okay, it's the same thing. Go to the edit menu, define pattern. You know, you can give it a name. It comes up with the name of the image. I'm just going to call it leaves. And this is also a good way, an easy way to test your repeating patterns too. Okay, so if we go back here, and now let's try and fill it with the leaves and see what happens. There we go. Repeats nicely. Now, I do remember saying this when we did this, that I think I would get rid of that really light leaf that's in there, okay, because I can notice that one repeating. But the red leaves are actually quite good because they're a bit more random, because I think that had only two leaves in there. If you've got something that's really noticeable and you've got one thing in your tile, it's going to be noticeable, it's going to be repetitive. Okay, so just try and have a couple of things to make it look a bit more random if you're using something like that. So that's an easy way to test where if you've made a repeating tile, you can just save it as a pattern, fill it, and you know how last week we just copied and pasted several versions of it, several images next to each other. This is much quicker. Okay, so that's another way you can do that. Okay. Now one more way to make a pattern. So that's a pattern from a photo. Okay, we already know how to do the repeating bit. You can also make a pattern, a repeating pattern, using a shape. Okay, so this is another option for you for the background image you have to create for the assignment. Okay, so you can either do one using a photo and you know, offsetting it and using the clone tool, or you can create a shape, a pattern from a, you know, use a shape and make that into a pattern. Okay, so let's have a look at doing that one now. All right, let's go back to our custom shape tool. Okay, so remember the shape tool here, and we want the custom shape. Now you can draw your own shape like we drew the blob. Okay, you can draw your own shape if you want. For this one I'm going to show you with another shape that's on here. So go up to the shapes, and we want this one, it's called a fleur-de-lis. It's like, I don't know, they probably used it in royal things, I think. Okay, it's yeah, that one is. So does everyone see where that one is? Yep. All right, so that's the shape we're going to use. Now with this one, we need it to be symmetrical. So when we draw it, we need to hold the shift key when we're drawing it. Okay, so that's very important because we're going to do multiple copies of it and do different things. All right, and so you would choose whatever colour. What colour do I want for this? I don't know. I'm going to do pink. Ooh, hot pink. That would be too bright, I think. Actually, I'm going to choose a blue. So just choose some sort of colour. Purple. I've just changed my mind several times there. Okay, so whatever colour you're going to do here, and just hold your shift key and just draw a shape, one of those shapes. Oh, on a new, sorry, you need to be on a new layer. Just make a new layer. Oh, actually, it'll make a new layer anyway, but just hide all your other things there. Now, what we want to do is we want to duplicate this. So you could, if we made a pattern out of this shape as it is, it'd be pretty boring because it'd just be repeated, you know, the whole way. But we're going to do a few different things to it. So what we're going to do is make four or three copies, so there'll be 4 of them all together, of this shape and rotate them and do different things. So an easy way to duplicate a layer, can anyone remember what the keyboard shortcut is? Actually, Alt is one of the ways you can do it. You can Alt and then drag. So if I hold the Alt key and then click on the layer and just drag it up, it actually makes a copy of that layer. So that is another way of duplicating a layer. You can't do that if it's a locked background layer though. It has to be like an unlocked layer. So you hold Alt and then just click on the layer, and this is on the layers panel, and drag it up. Okay, but Control J is another way. Okay, remember Control J is to duplicate a layer as well. Alright, so what we want is 4 layers that are all the same. Whether you do Control J or you Alt and drag on the layers panel, or you can also do it through the menu on the layers panel as well. Duplicate layer is there. Okay, but just so long as we've got 4 layers there. So what we want to do, we're going to flip some of these and rotate some so that they're all pointing in the center. Now you could try and rotate them freehand, okay, but we need this to be exact. All right, so if we do it through the edit menu, so if we go up to edit, edit, and transform path. Now one of them, so we want one of them to be upside down. So we needed to flip vertical. I think, is that flip vertical? Yes, it is. So flip vertical and it'll turn one upside down. Now notice it stayed in place, okay, but we need to move it up. Now if you hold, oops, that's right, they're all together. Oh, okay. I thought I could hold the shift key and drag it up, but it doesn't want to do that. But what you can do is you can just press on the arrow keys, like the up arrow, okay, and that'll just move it up. Yeah, it is a bit slow. Or you can move it up yourself. You just have to be careful that it meets exactly in the middle. Okay, so we want the points to meet. You could do this, actually I think you could do this the other way as well. I don't know that they fit together as well if you had the other sides meeting. But anyway, we're doing it on the points. Okay, so that's one light. And then you've got another copy, and we need these ones we need to rotate 90 degrees because we're going to have them facing that way. Alright, so let's go to the edit menu, transform, and you'll see there's 2 options here, right? Rotate 90 degrees, one's clockwise, one is counterclockwise. Okay, so clockwise is that way, or I'm looking at it, clockwise and counterclockwise. So we want one to go counterclockwise and one to go clockwise. Okay, again, and just move it out. And the other one, counterclockwise. So that's what we want to end up with, is a shape like that. Now this is why it was so important at the beginning to hold the shift key when we created the shape so that it was kept in proportion, because they need to exactly meet. If yours aren't meeting or they're not looking, maybe you didn't hold the shift key when you did your image. So if that's the case, I would just get rid of those and draw another one. Because it won't take long. Just hold the shift key as you create the image, duplicate the 3 more layers, okay, and then just rotate and flip. You can also zoom right into the middle just to double check that they are actually meeting exactly in the middle. Alright, so we've now got a pattern like that. So we've got this little thing there. So we could make that into a repeating tile. It would be okay, like it would sort of repeat across. So if we test that out as a pattern, now actually I think, do we need to crop this? Let me just see what it will show us. Define pattern. Yeah, we actually need to crop this. Okay, so let's crop our document just to the edges of the shape. And it should snap to your shape. Okay, so crop tool, bring the edges in, and then press enter. So let's try that out. Let's make that into a pattern. Let's save that as a pattern and see what it looks like when it's a repeating pattern. So edit, define pattern. I'm not going to give it a name, and say OK. Now we probably need to open a new document again so we can try it out, seeing as we've just cropped this document. So let's just make a new document, Control N, same size, so you can just say OK. All right, how do we test out our pattern? We need to go to the paint bucket tool. Okay, paint bucket, and there's our pattern. Okay, so it should look something like that. Not too bad, okay, it's a bit sort of regular, all right. What if we wanted to vary that a little bit, okay, and have them alternating? All right, a little bit more work involved, but it can be done. All right, let's go back to your single image here. Now, what we need to do here is, if we want to make that into a variable thing, we really need to save this one as an image, like as a JPEG or maybe as a PNG. It depends. Do we want a transparent background? We might want to have a transparent background to it. Okay, in which case, let's just go down to your white layer. See on your layers panel you've got a white layer, and just turn the eye off so that we've now got a transparent background. Okay. All right. So what we want to do now, we could do a save as and save it as a PNG, but Photoshop also has a save for web option, okay, which is really useful because you can do lots of things in there. So let's have a look at that. File menu and save for web. Now in the save for web option, we've got different presets here. Okay, let's have a look at the presets. You've got GIF, you've got JPEG, and you've got PNG with different options there. And you've also got, underneath there, you've got the 3 different options, or actually 4. It's got bitmaps, which you can just ignore bitmaps. they're no good at all. Okay, with this sort of image, we could save it as a GIF file because it's only one color. It's a simple image. We could actually save it as a GIF file. Whoops. So if I selected GIF here, because GIFs are limited to 256 colors, okay, and that would be okay here. However, I do tend to find that PNGs give a smoother edge. They're just sort of a nicer file. I rarely use GIF files anymore, but if you needed a really, really small file size, then you could use a GIF. So what happens is, so I've selected GIF there, and this gives me an idea of what size that's going to be if I save that as a GIF file. So it's like 9.5 kilobytes, tiny, tiny file, okay? If I wanted to save it as a JPEG, so I go to JPEG, JPEG, you can have varying qualities, okay, compressions. So see right under JPEG, you've then got this menu. It's got low, medium, high, very high, maximum. If we have a look at low, now when you get something really low and you'll have the preview, have a look at your screen and you can see it's really, it looks really, I don't know, chunky is all the word I can think of. Okay, it's really compressed way too much. And I can't think of any instance where you'd need to compress it that much. But it does make a really small file size. It's just over 7 kilobytes. But it looks terrible. Okay, if you change it to something like high, high actually looks pretty good. And that's only 18 kilobytes. And then if you go up to maximum, what you're trying to do is try and detect any difference between the quality settings. I can't really tell any difference. That one's 42 kilobytes, which again is quite small. You know, I mean, maybe really minor difference between high and maximum. So you'd have to decide, you know, which setting to use. But in this case, remember JPEGs, you can't have a transparent background. Okay, we need a PNG or a GIF to have a transparent background. So let's have a look at the PNG option. Okay, so we've got PNG 8 or PNG 24. If you use, actually I think 24 is the best one. It's got more things. PNG 8 is more like GIF files, I think. So if you use PNG 24, it's a high quality file. You get transparency. See up there, there's a box that says transparency to tick if you want transparency or not. And it's only 14 kilobytes, you know, so it's still really small. Okay, but it does give you a nicer edge. Okay, so that's what we're going to use, PNG 24. If you wanted to change the image size at this point, we don't, but if you do, okay, you can change it down here. Now, I'll leave after the break. I'll just show you with the photos. Remember, you've got to take photos for your assignment and resize them, and so I'll show you how you can do that in here, but I'll do that after the break. All right, so at this point, I'm happy with that, so let's just say save. Choose somewhere to save it. All right, I will put mine, actually I'll put mine on the P drive. Yeah, you can save it there, yep. All right, so where are we up to? So we just saved our tile image as a PNG. Let's open up that image. Okay, now we could have actually done this with like using, actually that's not the right one, where's the document, that one, with the shapes, but I just find if I'm going to repeat it again, might as well just make it into one image, you know, and you don't have a million layers then. All right, so the next thing we need to do, we're going to start another new document that we can put this image into. So let's do Control N or File New. You can do the same size. And we want to drag our tile with the move tool, just drag it into our new document here. Sorry? That's because, now you've got to open the PNG. Remember we just saved it as a PNG? Yeah. Open the PNG that we just saved. You could do it with the individual layers, but then you'd want to group them and, do things. It's just easier to do it with one layer. Okay, so what we've got here is our one image. Now we want to repeat this a few times and offset them, but we need to make sure that they're going to line up properly. So the best way to do that is to use some guidelines. Okay, and we need to get guidelines, we need to have the rulers showing on our document because we drag them out from the rulers. So at the moment I don't have any rulers showing, probably no one has any rulers showing. So the rulers show up on the top and on the left side of your document if you've got nothing there. So we need to go to the View menu and, hang on, whoops, where's the rulers? There it is, Rulers. View menu and Rulers, and just click on that and we've now got rulers across the top and the bottom. Now what's on the rulers depends what's set up in your preferences, and you can change that depending on what you're doing. If you're working on a web interface, you probably want to change your rulers to pixels. If you're working on something that's going to be printed, you might want to change it to millimeters or centimeters. In this case, it doesn't really matter. We're not using it for measurement. We just need to get the guidelines. Okay. So just have that in the middle somewhere. So the ruler at the top, just click somewhere in that ruler, click and hold, and then just drag it down, and you should see that you're dragging down a line. Okay? That's a guideline. So we want to drag it right just to the edge of our image there, right? It should snap to the edge of that image as well. No, you don't have to select the image. Or you shouldn't need to anyway. It should just snap it. And then do another one to the bottom edge as well. Oh, actually, yeah, it doesn't snap it if it's not selected. Okay. Select it and then it should snap. There you go. That's interesting. Yeah, so just make sure your image is selected and then the guideline will snap to that edge. Okay, I think that's all we need for the moment. We'll just see. Now, what we want to do is we want to repeat. Actually, I probably should have moved it down a little bit. Let me just think. It's going to be... Oh, no, it should be all right. Yeah, I just put a line along the bottom as well. So you should have two guidelines, one along the top and one along the bottom of the image. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I know, you still drag from the top. So drag it down, yeah. Just down to the bottom, that's correct. Yeah. Okay, so what we want to do here is we want to duplicate our shape layer a few times. So let's just do Control J a few times. Like about 4. I think we need at least 4. I can't remember, we'll see. And what we want to do, so if you move one up and one down, so it fits exactly at the points. I've just duplicated a few layers, so Control J, do a few times. Now, did you open your PNG file or you're still using the other one? I just opened the PNG one, so it was just one layer. I mean, you can do it with the other ones, but of course then you're going to have multiple layers and you're going to have to make sure they're all grouped and everything. So it's easier just to do it if you open the PNG one. No, PNG. So you know the one we just saved? So open that one, the PNG file. Yeah, the one that we just saved, you know when we went into Save for Web? And we saved one? Yeah. We then opened that one, the PNG file, and put that one into a blank document. Okay? Okay, so we've got one above and below, and then we want to move these ones, but we don't want to move it next to it because that's exactly the same as just repeating the image. We want to offset it by 1. Oh, now we do need, that's right, we do need the vertical things. Or actually, we can move them in. We can do whatever. So long as they fit on the guidelines. So I've just moved one out and then another one. So I've got five images at the moment. And I'm just going to probably need at least one more to fit into the repeat thing. Yeah, we will. Yeah, let's drag some to... Oh, I'm trying to think. I did this a different way before. You can have them so they're further apart. I mean, you can do this like in different sort of patterns. If we drag a guideline out from the left side ruler, so it meets those points there on the right side. Okay, so then you can have those points matching up there. Actually, then I don't really need that other one, but you can drag another one out. So you can have them offset, so when it repeats, it's going to be a little bit different. Okay, and so what we'll do is we'll crop this, to a certain point there. And that's also where the guidelines come in handy, because when we crop it, it'll snap to those guidelines as well. Okay, so I'm going to do another vertical guideline on the left side here, just to make it easier when we crop it. The guidelines, so have you got the rulers showing? Okay, go to the view menu and click on rulers. It's about 2/3 of the way down. Yeah. So then click inside the ruler and drag down from the top or drag from the side. So you want some guidelines that match up with the end points of the image. Sorry? No, you don't have to count. No. Just click inside the ruler, click inside there and drag down. See, there's a line there when you're dragging down? Yeah. And you need it to go to the ends of the pointy ends of that image. Yep. Yep. So you want one at the top and bottom and one on the left and the right side of that original image. If you have the image selected, the guideline will snap to that image. So in actual fact, we really only need 3, but we can see what it looks like with the other ones there, but to make our repeating shape. So with this one, sometimes you have to imagine it in your head, which bit do we have to crop to get it to repeat, okay? Because we're offsetting one row, so we need one offset tile and then one complete tile. So when we come to crop it, okay, we actually want this area here. So I'll show you. So I'll crop this. That's the bit that we want to crop to. Okay, that will be a repeating tile, I'm hoping. Sometimes I have to do it first, and then if that doesn't work, then I redo it. So, well, I won't crop that just yet. So that's why you need some guidelines. So where your original tile is, that's that one in the middle, you want guidelines on the top and bottom of that and the left and right of that. And then also on your offset row, so the ones next to it, another vertical guideline on the right side of that. And that will help you when you crop the image because it will snap to those guidelines. Okay, so where's everyone up to with that? Still going? All right. I'll just crop mine. Okay, so that's where I'm cropping mine to. That part. Okay, so I've cropped into there, so I just press enter when I'm happy with that. Okay, we've now got that. So now let's save that as a pattern so we can test it to see if that works correctly. Okay, so we want to go up to edit, edit define pattern. I'm not going to bother giving it a name. I'll say okay. And we need another new document to test it. So remember, edit pattern and just save it. Yep, edit define pattern. And just say okay. And let's make a new document, just a new blank document, same size, so we can test our pattern. Okay, so paint bucket, remember, and it should be the last one there on your list. Beautiful. Yeah, so now hang on, yours isn't offset though. What happened? Oh, no, hang on, go up to your pattern again. Just undo that, Control Z. And go up to the pattern, you're in the paint bucket. So hang on, where's your new document? If you go up to the window menu and... No. Yeah, that's it. That is probably it. Yeah, just do Control Z to undo that last pattern. Okay, go up to your pattern list again. No, your pattern list. No. You know, the paint bucket and then the pattern. Yeah, where's the pattern list? Click on the last one. You probably had the second last one still selected. Yeah, so the last one. And click. There we go. That's it. Yeah. So now it's a bit more interesting because it's offset. No, because it's just filling up the space with however big it is. You see? Okay? So, yeah, so that's a way of offsetting it. Now, if you wanted to close up that gap a bit, okay, it's a little bit trickier because then you'd have to, I'm just going to undo that crop. There. You could move these closer together, but you would have to measure the amount and it'd have to be the same on the other side, and it'd be a bit trickier anyway. But it is still possible, but I mean that's fine, you know. And so you could make a pattern that way, a repeating pattern tile like that. But what you would have to do, we saved it as a pattern in Photoshop to test it, but of course let me just crop that again. You would have to do the same thing, save for web and save it as an actual image. Okay, so whether it's got a coloured background or a transparent background, you'd have to decide, and obviously the colour and everything. What another thing you could do is combine this with a texture, so you could make something really interesting and combine it with a texture. Now would make it more complicated because you would have to also offset the texture, so do a combination of the two methods. When we did the texture and offset it to repeat it and add it to this, okay, so you could make something look kind of grungy and old, by adding a texture to it, okay, but you also want the texture to repeat. So you would just have to do a combination of things there. So what's the way you could do it? You could, okay, let me just try something here. I'm going to open, I don't know that we've really got a good texture. I've only got this rust one. I could use a bit of this rust, but I don't know that I've really got a good texture on me. Let's see what this one looks like. And obviously I would need to do a blending mode or something. I don't know, but you could muck around with a texture on top. I've just done that and done you do some sort of some sort of blending mode. Okay. Multiply is going to do that sort of thing. And then you would need to offset that layer. Okay, so it's a bit more complex, but it is possible, and you could get some additional really interesting kind of effects there. Okay. Well, I'm just saying this is something extra that you could do. But actually, I'll leave that for the moment because I do want to show you a few things with text. So if we've got time, I'll come back to that, doing that thing, okay? All right, so did everyone get their repeating tile working? Yes? Did you get yours working? Yes? Okay. All right, good. All right. Yours isn't working. What a surprise. I'll come and see you in a minute, okay? But there are your two options. For your assignment, okay, you need to, one of the things is you have to make a repeating background tile. You could either use that sort of method. Now, I don't want you to use that pattern because we just did this in class, okay? I want you to come up with something different. Save it as grass. You probably could. Make it green. Or you do a photo of a texture and offset it and repeat it like we did a few weeks ago, okay? So there are your two options, like your two simple options to that part. Yeah, well, next Tuesday you'll have the whole lesson to work on those bits of the assignment. Yes, it is. Well, that's true. But I still want to show you, all right, how about, I just want to show you a couple of things with text, because you need to do text as well. You need to know how to put text on your web header, okay? So you also need that. All right. Okay, we'll just minimize all those things. So let's just, new document again. Okay. So type tool, very similar to Illustrator, okay? There's not a whole lot, can do there, so, but just a couple of slight different things. Horizontal type tool is just the general one that you use. So you can either do paragraph text where you click and drag. So if I click and drag, and that'll make, oh gee, it's so small. Let me just make that a bit bigger so I can see it. Okay, I'm just typing. And so that way it's a paragraph of text, so it'll word wrap at the end. That's just if you click and drag with the type tool. Or if I just click once, that'll just do like a line of text. Okay, so there's two ways you can do text. If you've got a whole paragraph of text, like if you're doing a poster or something and it's, got a big paragraph of text, or you just click and type. Okay. Don't worry about the horizontal type mask tools. They're just selection things and they don't really do much. Vertical type is if you want to type vertically, obviously, but the letters are still the correct way up. They're just on top of each other. Okay. You can also, I'll just click that text that I did. Sorry. Go back to the type tool. And there's a thing at the top here. So you'll see when you're in the type tool, you'll get, these are the fonts that you can use. Some of them have different options depending on the font. This one's got a heap, like it's got bold, bold italic, light bold, heaps of ones. And then the size. Even though it only goes up to 72 points, you can type in a larger point size, okay? So you're not restricted to that there. Alignment, okay, left centered, right, the color, and then it's got this thing here, okay, which create warped text. Sometimes, I don't use that very often, but, sometimes you might want to, sometimes it can look a little bit cheesy, like, when you do word art in Word and then you get these, so I don't really use it that much. There are other things to use, but it is there. So it's got a number of styles, so you can warp the text. Okay, so for example, flag isn't bad, if you just want sort of a nice curve, arch, okay. So it'll kind of do these, interesting sort of things to your text. And you can also adjust the rest of the settings as well. Okay, so I won't go into that one too much. You can also do text on a path and also text, I think now in Photoshop you can do text inside a shape as well. So if I draw a shape, like if I just, I'll draw a circle for instance. Okay, draw a circle, and if I do type, I'll go to the type tool. See, when I put my mouse inside the shape, I've now got this dotted circle around the type cursor. So if I click there and I type, see it's typing inside the shape. Okay, so that's something you can do. You can also type on a path. Now, hang on, I've forgotten how to do it in Photoshop because it's slightly different. I think we just have to draw a path. Let me just see. Oh, this is drawing it as a, actually I don't want to fill. No fill. Yep. So if I draw a path, so I've just drawn a little curvy line with the pen tool, and then I just use the normal type tool. And as soon as I put my cursor over that line, it changes shape, so it's got like a little curvy line. So that means I can click there and it'll do type on a path. Okay? Whereas Illustrator has a separate type on a path tool, but yeah. But that's all you had to do. Draw a path with the pen tool, just a curvy line, or whatever you want to do. Or you can draw it around a shape as well, actually. Oops. I should be able to draw it around the edge of a circle, for instance. Okay, it just follows it around like that. It's just a matter of putting the cursor over a path, and then you just start typing. You click and you type. Okay, that's really easy. Okay, so there's just a few things there, nothing too much. There are panels. Where's the character panel and the paragraph panel? They've got a few extra things just to do with spacing and whatever. Okay, so you can play with those. But one more thing I did want to show you is to do a clipping mask. Okay, so I'm just going to hide all these layers so they don't get in my way. Okay, just hide all those layers we've done. Now a clipping mask is when you can have a photo showing through text. Okay, so it's good for if you're using a font that's kind of big and fat, is probably the best sort of type of font to use. So something like Rockwell Extra Bold is probably a good one. There's a few different ones. Oh, it needs to be bigger than that. All right, so just type a word, make it really big. I'm going to make mine 200. Okay, so something like that. Just type a word. And we want to bring a photo in that we want to mask, like make a clipping mask with this text. So I'm going to open a photo. What photo have I got? Actually, I could use the Rust photo. That would be interesting. Let's see. All right. I'm just going to drag that over here. Now, when you make a clipping mask for something, the photo has to be on top of the text. Okay, so at the moment it's hiding the text. But there's my text there. Okay, so just open a photo. I just opened that Rust photo and bring it in. What's happened? All right, I'll just do this and then I'll come back and... Oh, you got it? Yeah, any photo is fine. I'm using the Rust one, but yeah, just whatever. Just use the Rust one, Joe. That'll be easy enough. Okay, well that's on the P drive anyway, if you're looking at the other thing. All right, so I've just put my photo on top of my text. Then I go to Layer, the Layer menu, and Create Clipping Mask. And it masks what's underneath it, which in this case is the text. Like it masks using that shape as a mask. So just drag it over into your document. And I can still move my photo around. Yep, so we went up to Layer and Create Clipping Mask. Oh, the image needs to be on top of the text. Yeah, that's right, yep. So Layer and Create Clipping Mask. Okay, and so you can do some interesting things there because you've got a nice texture and whatever. And that's why it's better to use a bigger font, you know, so you can see it better, basically. Okay, so you can, you know, do a few things there. You could, I wonder what it would look like if I did a stroke around the text. Yep, that looks nice. So at the bottom of your layers panel, layer styles. Actually, have we looked at layer styles? I don't think we have. Layer styles have a few extra things. So stroke is you can put a border around something. So around the text, I've just put a border. You can put a drop shadow on the text. Drop shadows look quite nice on text. Okay, you can, you know, change the settings, wherever you want your text to be, the size of it, you know. There are a few other things, glow, you can make things glow if you really want. You can make a pattern overlay or a gradient overlay as well. Instead of using the gradient tool or the pattern tool, you can just overlay something and it will add in a pattern or a gradient. Okay, like it should have pattern overlay. It's got all the same patterns. I mean, that would look weird doing that one, obviously, because it doesn't really, you know, we can't see the pattern in the text, but, you know, you can use all those ones. So this is pattern overlay as well. So these are all the layer styles, where it says FX at the bottom of the layers panel. Okay, so they're just things that can just add a few, you know, extra interesting things to text or to other things as well, but particularly to text actually. I think those things, the layer styles. Okay, so that was just some really quick stuff about text. Does anyone have any questions about? Oh, you can also turn text into a shape as well. So let me just. All right, I'll just repeat that. I'm just copying that. Damn it. Hang on. That one. All I've just copied that bit of text there. If I make that into a shape, that means that I can adjust the anchor points and the curves and things of the shape, okay, of the text, just like a shape. So the way I do that is in the type menu and convert to shape. Now, the only thing is, once you convert text to shape, you can't edit it as text anymore. So if you've made a spelling mistake, then you can't just go in as text and fix it. All right, you have to redo it. So convert to shape, and then I can just use the direct selection tool, and see when I click on it, I've got the little anchor points. All right, and I can pull things out and adjust the curves and these sort of things. Obviously that's going to look a bit weird, but okay, because that's now a shape. Okay, but you can see on here it's no longer text. So these ones have a letter T, means they're text. That's now a shape. All right. Same thing, if you wanted to run a filter on text, you actually have to, it looks like you can do it on a shape. Okay. Oh no, it does say it has to be rasterized. So to run a filter on anything, you have to rasterize it, which means it's just pixels. It's no longer a shape or text. Okay, it just becomes like a painted object if you want to run a filter on it. So again, you can't go back and fix any spelling mistakes or anything like that. But you would obviously check that before you did it. Okay. All right. Any questions there? Does anyone want me to go over any of those things? The text thing, it's really just a matter of playing with those different options, and it's quite a simple tool to use.